In this market. Thanks for joining us on the Wednesday edition of Balance of Power. It's an interesting day here in the city because guess what? Well, no one's getting along. And I dare say the level of trust has reached a new low, as evidenced in this morning's hearing with the Attorney General. And boy, there was a lot to talk about there. Did you hear the Department of Justice failed to secure a grand jury indictment? What about the ham sandwich? Against the 6 Democratic members of Congress who made the video that the administration, the Pentagon, is very upset about, right? This is Mark Kelly, Alyssa Slotkin, others. We've talked to them here on the air about this, and they were being investigated by the FBI, I believe, at one point, on behalf of DOJ, urging the military, members of the military, to not follow unlawful orders, which is, I think, in the Constitution. But it's bringing out the best in everybody. Jason Crow, the Democrat from Colorado, the tide is turning. Check this out. The president swears a lot on the record, right? So now I guess lawmakers are doing it. This is a direct quote. If these effers, and he used the word, if these effers think they're going to intimidate us and threaten and bully me into silence, and they're going to go after political opponents to get us to back down, they have another thing coming. My mother used to say that. Enter Jerry Nadler when it comes to the Epstein files. Boy, Pam Bondi, she must have been up all night getting ready for this one because she came out with red meat, teeth showing. Aggressive, I think is the word the playbook used in anticipation of the event. They had no idea what was going to happen. Listen to the gentleman from New York get into the Epstein files, lack of prosecutions with the Attorney General. See if you can find any air in between these two. Listen.
How many perpetrators are you even investigating?
First, you showed it. I find it.
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me. I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No,
Your
you're going to answer the question the way I asked it.
Chairman Jordan, I'm not going to get in the gutter with these people, but I'm going to answer the question.
How many have you indicted?
Again, the time belongs to me.
Reclaiming my time.
The time belongs.
I think it's very interesting.
My time.
I think it's very interesting.
You can
when
reclaim
he
your
talks
time.
about they indicted, the president said they indicted him twice.
Mr. Chairman, please stop the clock and
stop
the clock and restore his time.
Okay, here we go with these theatrics.
We could have kept that going for you. It went on like this for hours. Jerry Nadler had nothing on his fellow Democrats, and she was ready for all of them. Nothing was accomplished, but you're going to see this played, the beautiful bean footage, all day now on cable news and everywhere else. Let's assemble our political panel to get into this, because that was a doozy. This is the way all these hearings go now, right? Bloomberg Politics contributors Jeannie Shanzano, Rick Davis are with us. Jeannie is our Democratic analyst, democracy visiting fellow at Harvard Kennedy School's Ash Center. Rick Davis, Republican strategist and partner at Stone Court Capital. Rick, I'm going to start with you because you've helped to prepare any number of elected officials and members of the military for very intense congressional hearings, grillings, the hot seat, the murder boards. What do you make of this approach here, where the witness is almost jumping over the table with Oppo research to get to members who have challenging questions? Have they redefined the congressional hearing?
Well, they certainly redefined the ones that I've been witness to. I mean, the reality is, could you imagine sitting in a room briefing a cabinet secretary? Now, here, this is the plan. Attack all the Democratic members the minute they ask you the first question. Right. Answer no questions. Be combative. Be theatrical, do everything you can to draw attention upon yourself and talk the entire time that the member had 5 minutes. I mean, honestly, it's like so much fun. I wish I'd ever had some kind of an opportunity like that. Is it effective? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Let's make fewer friends today. I thought you said this was Make Friends Day.
Right. No, just Wednesday. I couldn't stop listening to it, Jeannie. Forgive me, I'm having trouble here. Maybe that's the point, but to Rick's point, typically you're trying not to make news in these hearings. Was this just all about an audience of one?
It absolutely was about an audience of one, and the most shameful part of this entire thing, and of course you and Rick are right, you can't hear a word that is going on. She's screaming, they're screaming. And who is sitting in that audience but a group of survivors, a group of victims who sent the Attorney General an open letter this morning asking for answers to 15 questions. We have victims, by the DOJ's count, over 1,200 women who are victimized, some as young as 9 years old. And they have to sit and listen to this back and forth nonsense going on and do not get answers to the questions. At one point, one of the Democratic members asked the victims to stand up, to raise their hands, and asked the Attorney General to apologize to them. She did not do that. She continued to talk over the Democratic member. And of course, for the victims, the irony of this entire thing is in her opening statement and throughout her back and forth, and her being the Attorney General, she has repeatedly made the case that anybody who's a victim can go to the FBI. And they are screaming from the rooftops. Over the last 2 or 3 decades, they've been going to the FBI and have gotten absolutely no response and recourse. And even in the last few days, their names and likenesses and pictures as victims have been released to the world for the world to see. So it is disgusting and clownish what is going on in that hearing, but there are real victims here, and it is very, very shameful on all sides.
Well, I appreciate what you just said, Jeannie. There were victims in the room here, and we still, to my knowledge at least, have not heard an update from the Department of Justice on those errors when it comes to redactions. By the way, Tom Massey's on this panel. He was questioning the Attorney General, the very man who was part of the duo that forced the release of these files, and is going to be, he says, back at DOJ every day reviewing them. We'll see if the unredacted files emerge. But Rick, when it comes to styling here, if you're testifying before this committee and you work for this White House, there was apparently, she had the binders in front of her. She had Oppo research on specific members here and had an agenda. But there was a break glass in case of emergency page in one of those binders. If this thing goes off the rail, the questions get too intense. Point to the stock market. Listen.
The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about. We should be talking about making Americans safe. We should be talking about, what does a Dow have to do with anything? That's what they just asked. Are you kidding?
Rick, of course, a lot of Americans are not invested in the stock market. What do you think of this mechanism? At one point, she referred to the Dow being at $50,000. From the Attorney General, how does that strike you?
Well, that's why you allow the Treasury Secretary to answer questions related to the markets and not the Attorney General. Look, I mean, it's pretty obvious. It's exactly what you described, when the heat gets turned up too high, completely change the topic, talk about something you actually don't know much about, read the talking points off of today's markets. And by the way, maybe not a bad device considering how off the rails the hearing was going. Mostly as a contribution of her efforts. But at the end of the day, it's completely irrelevant, right? What anybody who sees the news on this is going to see that the House of Representatives and the Department of Justice are at loggerhead. There's no cooperation. There seemingly is no investigation related to the Epstein files. And for those people who care about this, the ones, that Representative Massey was addressing, because that was really his focus, they're not going to get what they want out of this administration. And for whatever reason, after having set this up as some kind of a major effort during the campaign, to then so severely block any effort whatsoever to get some kind of settlement on it is going to hurt their base. I mean, and by the way, their base couldn't give a hoot about what's going on in the S&P or the Dow. Most of those are not, they're barely banked. And so when you really boil it down, who are they talking to? They're talking to Democrats, who are likely the primary beneficiaries of the stock market right now. And I don't mean that to be all encompassing, but the reality is they're off message. And they're certainly off message when the head of the Justice Department, with all the weighty issues that they've got right now going on in the country, are spending their time talking about what happened today in the stock market.
The stock market? Yeah, maybe she's got a future as a chief investment strategist, Jeannie, or a market analyst on Bloomberg if she sticks with this. But it does seem like we're plumbing new lows. You heard me mention the statement from Jason Crow as the DOJ fails to secure a grand jury indictment against 6 Democrats who, in many cases, veterans, if not all, telling people to, members of the military, not to follow unlawful orders. We've got a Homeland Security shutdown expected on Friday. Does it get worse from here?
Oh, I hate to be so negative, Joe, but you know,
it's my fault. I'm going dark on you, Jeannie. I know you're better than this.
It's ironic because you listen to that statement you just played by the Attorney General, and she's, you know, hair on fire. Look at the stock market. Look over here. And of course, in the meantime, her own DOJ is wasting the time of grand jurors in this country to see if they can indict 6 sitting members of Congress who are decorated veterans of the military and intelligence for repeating in a video something that our own department says is the rule and is what we've all known, which is that if you are a member of the military, you should not obey an unlawful order. She wasted time going there because, of course, Donald Trump wants to pursue these ridiculous indictments. And in the meantime, when she doesn't like what Thomas Massie, a Republican, is saying, she's screaming at him, "You're a political joke. You have Trump derangement syndrome. You're a hypocrite." And of course, last night, Thomas Massie said, if this thing goes off the rails, if he doesn't get the answers he wants on the Epstein files today, he will pursue contempt charges. Now, can he get those? I think it might be really difficult to get against her. Of course, those would go to the DOJ. But this is how off the rails this thing has gone, and she is wildly off message here.
Off the rails. We're all in agreement, I guess, on that one today. What a day in Washington. Thank God we've got Rick and Jeannie. They'll be back in our second hour. Kaylee Lyons is on the way in. Only here on Bloomberg.